Okay, so this is the Learn English Network Tuesday drama. And if you notice on the calendar, it says English drama, stories, poetry, and song. And we've done a lot of drama recently, so we're going to do some stories and poetry and song for the next few weeks. And today it's going to be poetry, but sort of related to what we've been talking about before. As you can see, we're at the beach, at the seaside, and the sea has often been the subject of prose and poetry, especially in British literature, because of course we're an island, we're surrounded by the stuff. So before I introduce the poem I'm going to get us to talk about today, do you know of any stories or poems or songs that are related to the sea, either of you? Let's see if Vinay can come back. He's got voice issues, I'm afraid. But Traum, do you know of any stories or songs or poems to do with the sea in English or in your own language?
No, we aren't surrounded by any sea.
No, you're actually the opposite, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you know what we call
I know
that?
a very... Yes, you told me it several times. I do. It's
landlocked.
Landlocked, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, landlocked. Landlocked, yes, of course. Actually, I know one song, but I don't know the whole lyric. It's a very old song. It's at the seaside, and an old lady, or no, I'm not sure if she was old at that time when she sang it, but it sounds pretty old. I heard it once, and but the rhythm or the sound of the song is really nice and so entertaining.
And can you remember any? Oh, can you remember any of the lines in the song?
It's at the seaside. No, I can't at the moment. Okay, I would have to prepare.
Okay.
Myself.
Next week.
Yes, maybe.
Okay. I mean, we did sing a song. I can't remember who was at the session, but we did sing a song together. I do like to be beside the seaside. That's what we call a seaside song. There are also sea shanties. Have you heard of the term sea shanty?
It's
No, Shiny. It's okay. Don't be sad about it. That's why you're here. Sea shanties are the sort. Yeah, Traum.
I'm not sure. Is shanty a repetition of a block, a verse or so?
Not really. I think I know what you mean there, but no, a sea shanty is the sort of song that sailors would sing. Okay, and it would be it has a chorus and then a solo, and they developed these songs for doing things like hauling in the sails or raising the anchor. I think if Son was here, she'd know one, and Aladdin as well, because we did a session on pirates. Quite a while ago, many years ago, and one of the songs is "What Should We Do with the Drunken Sailor?" and "Yo ho ho" and a bottle of rum. They're the sort of thing that people would sing at sea, and they're called sea shanties. If you go onto YouTube, you'll find, if you just enter sea shanties into YouTube, you'll find lots and lots of people, choirs, singing these songs. Shiny, do you know of any poetry about the sea? Is it normal in your culture to have songs and stories and poems about the sea? Take the mic.
I think I have read about some point about sea, but when I was a student, but I can't remember. But the only song I can remember is Yellow Submarine.
Ah,
It's very
yeah. We
the
all
only
live
song
in
that
a,
I
yeah, no, no. We all live in the yellow submarine, the yellow submarine, the yellow submarine. Fantastic. Indeed. Yeah, you're quite right. Oh, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I had somebody ring at the doorbell, but I won't answer. They can come back. Okay, it's just a delivery. Nothing important. Okay, so today's poem is by a poet called John Masefield. Okay, and it's very romantic. It's called Sea Fever. Now, what would you take of that without knowing the poem? Oh,
Sea fever, I would take it positively. Maybe he is inside, maybe in London where no sea is around, then he will get fever because of the absence of water.
yeah. Both of you were correct, actually. So, Shiny, not some who loves the sea, someone, yeah, someone who loves the sea. So much it's a passion. Yeah, it's a fever. Not so much the absence of the sea, but just the longing for the sea. Yeah, his longing for the sea. And you can have sea fever even if you're at sea. It's just the idea of not being at sea. And some people really are passionate about the sea, about sailing, about living by the sea. People in the UK, they gravitate towards the seaside a lot. People pay a premium to live by the sea, and people who live by the sea, yeah, some people don't really do much above look at it, but many people have a boat or will go sailing and will spend a lot of time, what we say, on the water. Yeah, they long to be out on the water. Traum, what do you mean by brides?
No, I thought when someone is on sea, a sailor or so, and a bride is waiting for him.
Ah, yes. A bride is actually somebody who's going to be married.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my thought when I wrote brides, because often they're waiting and got the permission that they will marry.
Uh-huh.
But it's often maybe different because he found another woman
Yeah.
on another country.
There is a saying in English as well, one in every port, yeah? And it's basically to have a woman in every port, okay? A girl in every port. Be it a bride or a wife or just a lover, a girl in every port. Seemingly sailors are quite notorious for that. Okay, so this actual poem, as I say, it's studied in English literature in the UK at school, and the imagery. Now, when I talk about the imagery, it's the picture that the words paint when you actually listen to or read the poem. Okay. Oh, Vinay's trying to join us. Hi. Okay, he wants to teleport. Let's hope he's got his. Let's hope he's got the voice working. Okay, so when you talk about imagery, it's the picture it paints in your mind. Hi, Vinay. Have you got your voice working? Oh no, no white dot. Still no white dot. Okay, let's see if you can sort it out. So when we talk about the imagery, as I say, it's that image it paints in your brain, just the words, okay, and it gives you this idea that the person who's reading the poem, the person who's saying the words, is longing for the sea, okay, and there's a lot of metaphors in it. And the idea is when you read it, you realise that the person who's saying these words has to return to the sea, okay? Oh, you can see a white dot, Vinay. I can't. Can anybody hear Vinay? Okay, let me give you a link, Vinay. I'll give you a link. I don't understand why he can see the white dot and we can't. That's odd. Bear with me.
Well.
Oh, let's see. Groups. Virtual world. Voice. Issues. I'll give it that one. Hang on. Sorry about this. We'll try and help Vinay and then we'll get back to the session. Got to find it, yeah? Ah, yes, here it is. Voice issues. I'll bump it. In fact, I'll... Okay. Okay, so sorry Vinay, but we really can't hear you. Okay. Anyway. Let me give you the first verse. So what I suggest we do, there's just the three of us. I'll read the verse and then I'd like you to read it afterwards, okay? So we'll take it in turns. It's a short poem, you'll be glad to know. So this is the first verse. Just read it through without me saying anything. Ask any questions. Let me know if there's anything you're not sure of, okay? Still no white dot on, Vinay. Any questions? Yes, well spotted. The seas. Now, we often talk about the sea, but of course there are also different seas, different names. Can you think of any seas? Because of course water is uncountable. The sea, we normally say, we use it with the article, the sea. Oh, we're going to the seaside. We're going to the sea. We sailed on the sea. But then we talk about the seven seas. I don't know if you've ever heard that. The seven seas. He sailed the seven seas. Of course, there are more than seven seas. Can you name any of the seven seas? There's the Pacific, but the Pacific isn't a sea. Do you know what the Pacific is? Well done, Shiny. Pacific with a C. Okay. Take the mic. No need to type. If the Pacific isn't a sea, what is it? Yeah, it's an ocean. We always say the Pacific Ocean. Okay. Now, strangely, the seven seas, they are arranged around the Mediterranean Sea, the Aegean Sea, the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea. Now, the Arabian Sea is part of the Indian Ocean, and the seven seas, okay, are often include parts of the ocean. Okay, it's a strange metaphor. It's almost ancient use, but we talk about the seven seas, and what we're talking about is actually the oceans. Confused? You will be. So, the seven seas, yes, which include the oceans, but an ocean is an ocean, not a sea. So, can you name a sea, an actual sea? What sea is the major part of the coast of the UK? What sea is the major part of the seas surrounding the UK? Any idea? And it's part of the Atlantic Ocean, yeah? It's bordered by the Atlantic Ocean, yes, but we don't call it the Atlantic Ocean. We call it the North Sea. Okay. Okay, so it's around Great Britain, between Norway, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium and France. We actually call it the North Sea. But the North Sea is located in the Atlantic Ocean. It sort of borders the Atlantic Ocean. At some point, the North Sea turns into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if you look at the World Atlas, okay, let me give you a link and you'll see how that works. Let me just screen share it. There it is. So there you've got the Atlantic Ocean. So further north, where there's no land mass between it and pretty much if you're in the Atlantic, you end up in America. But between the UK and Norway, Denmark, etc., you've got the North Sea. Then you have the English Channel. You have the Celtic Sea, the Irish Sea. Okay. So we're surrounded by the same body of water, which is really part of the Atlantic Ocean, but we call these areas of water different seas. Okay? Oh, I've got somebody on voice. Vinay, we can hear you. Try speaking, Vinay. We can hear something anyway.
Hello.
Hello. Yay!
Hey.
Well done.
Somehow I managed.
You got it working. That's the main thing. You got it to work. Brilliant. Well done. Now, honestly, we could see no white dart and we couldn't hear you. When that happens, you have to go into preferences, check your settings. Sometimes the relog works.
I I didn't do anything. It just started automatically.
Then it's your connection. It's just taken a while for Vivox, the servers at Vivox, to recognise you and to post you through. That's also can happen. So maybe, just wait and it might sort itself out. Okay, but it's always worth just checking your preferences, checking your settings as well. Anyhow, you've missed a little bit of what we're talking about. We're doing a poem today. The bit you've missed, you'll be able to catch up on the recording in YouTube if you want to. Okay, so anything you've missed, bear with me 1 second. Let's all go today here. I don't know. People ringing me, people phoning me, people ringing on the doorbell. Ah, dear, it's not normally this manic. Okay, so when we're talking about the UK, as I say, we've got this North Sea is the main sea. Ooh, don't forget to mute when you're not speaking, Vinay. Okay, you've got a little bit of noise coming through your microphone too. Okay, so Vinay, did you see the first verse that I posted up? Okay, were you able to see that?
It's from North Sea GIF. It's a peak.
Yeah,
it's a peak. I can see.
Okay, then wait for the text to appear. What we're going to do is I'm going to read each verse of the poem, and then we're each going to take it in turns to read the verse, and then maybe discuss it, ask any questions. Okay, so let me read the first part. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. Okay, so that's the first verse. What does that make you think of? Anything?
Sorry, I didn't get what we are going to do.
Okay, did you hear the first verse of the poem?
First of
the poem. We're reading a poem today. Okay.
Oh, so poem. Yeah, we are reading the poem.
Yeah. So I just read the first verse. What does it make you think of?
He is sick of maybe he is sick of doing something on the sea. And all I ask is a tall ship, Lynn. Does it mean he wants to get a tall ship, or to see a tall ship coming in, or?
Yeah. Now, what do you understand by the term tall ship?
A tall ship is the opposite of a small ship.
Ah, no. A tall ship is a kind of ship. Okay. Have you heard of the tall ship races?
When they get on a competition, do you mean?
Yep. And they're specific kinds of ships. Okay.
Not the one the husband of Princess Caroline died with?
I don't know, but if you have a look at this kind of ship, that's what they're talking about, a tall ship. And it's a ship with very high mast, very tall mast, and lots of sails. It's the sort of ship you think about historically, the British Navy, Walter Raleigh and all that. So it's a ship under sail, but with lots of sails. Okay. And that's the romantic notion of a ship. That's the sort of romantic ship. And every year...
That was the time...
Mm-hmm.
That was the time when the ship hadn't had an engine.
Exactly. There were no engines. There was no noise. It was very romantic. But it was a tough life. But yeah, when he says, and a tall ship, he's thinking of this kind of ship. Okay, a ship under full sail, just with the wind to steer you. And the sails for the power. Okay. Not the Aida, no. Not the Titanic. You can still see these tall ships. If you go to Bristol, there is one at anchor in Bristol Docks. And the tall ships race is held every year. So you can actually go and see that. It is really romantic and beautiful to watch. Okay, absolutely stunning to watch. But it is very much romanticised. When these were the only kind of ships that were available, it was a tough life. So the tall ships races, let me see, when are they in 2017? They should be sometime around now, I think. Oh no, I think they're finished. Let me see. No, yeah, up until August the 8th, you can still go to watch the tall ships race. Okay. And you can even sign up to be part of the crew. But if you imagine trying to buy one of these ships, it would be rather or have one built, it would be rather expensive. And the next race is going to be held around Poland. It says Szczecin. I need poetry here. I need Xanthip here. Szczecin. So you've never heard of a tall ship before? Shiny? Yeah, Vinay, like the Black Pearl. The Black Pearl. That kind of ship, okay?
Lynn, sorry, I have a problem. In fact, Shiny's voice is so loud and I can't do anything against it. Is it not the way I did it as I used to do it when someone's voice is so loud?
Yeah.
I click just on the...
Don't click.
The box.
Don't click. Just hover your mouse over her and click on the eye and then reduce the sound.
There isn't an eye available for me. It's... yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
But without the eye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
Shiny. It has nothing to do with you.
No.
It's my computer.
What can happen, Shiny, is in one session the voice will be too soft and the volume too low, and so we increase it. The next session it's working fine, and and then it deafens us. It's up to us to change it. Unless you're showing up with lots of red wavy lines, it's not actually your fault. It's just our settings we need to change. Okay, so that's what he means by a tall ship. Okay. Oh, let me get back to my text. Okay. All I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. What does that mean? If you have a star to steer by?
Yes, star to see one.
Yeah.
and start to steer her by. Actually, we steer the ship according to the position. We provide the direction to the ship as per the position of the star, I think.
That's right, yes. I mean, in the past, before we had GPS, I mean, nowadays we use satellites.
Yeah.
And a satellite to steer her by isn't as romantic, is it? Or a GPS system to steer her by, not at all romantic. But a star. People used to sail, and when
Navigate.
yeah, to navigate. Thank you. But when you're out at sea, you can't look at street names. You can't look at buildings. You can't see roads or streets. It's just more water. And so in order to steer, in order to navigate from one country to the other, where you couldn't see where you were, you used the stars, and often the North Star. So we've got the North Sea and the North Star. And then there was the Morning Star as well, I think, was often used to steer. But if you could see the North Star, you knew where North was. Once you know where North is, you know where East, West and South are, and Northeast, Northwest. You can calculate your position, and you can calculate which direction to sail in to get to your destination. As I say, nowadays it's a dying skill, but some people still use this old technology in order to know where they are. Do you know what you can use? What is the name of the equipment they used to use to navigate on ships? They used to have charts. At sea, you don't have a map; you have a chart. Yeah.
They have watch. They have direction watch. I think something is compass. I think.
Yeah, the compass. Yeah.
Compass. Compass to navigate the ship. To direct the ship in order to reach a destination.
Yeah, and part of the equipment that was used for navigation, along with the compass, because a compass will show you the direction, but this piece of equipment would use the stars to steer you. So at night, the captain or the navigator would go onto the deck, watch where the stars were, and then they would calculate which direction to go in, and then use the compass. And it was called, not a fernglass. I think you're thinking of a telescope. A telescope can help you to see things in the distance, but if you're on the ocean, doesn't matter how powerful a telescope you had in those days, you wouldn't be able to see land. So they would use a sextant. Okay. And it would measure the distance between two objects, often stars, of course, and the horizon. And then they'd be able to literally use the stars to navigate. And that's what they used before any of the really advanced technology came along. That's what they would use. They think that the Vikings actually did use the compass method, that they had a lodestone and they were able to do at least short distances using a lodestone, knowing where north was, knowing which direction roughly to go in. But real navigation, exploration started with the invention of the sextant. It's back now. Good. Okay, Traum, what were you trying to say?
No, the only one I want to say is the book by Jules Verne. It's called 2000 Leagues Under the Sea.
20,000.
This book is amazing, and he explains so many gadgets a captain needs on a ship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 20,000.
Yeah, 20,000.
It's almost the same. No. But,
yeah, well, we did. If you remember, we did read it in our book reading sessions in Second Life. We read the whole book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yes, Lynn. Exactly, yes. And he introduced so many names. What is needed on a ship at that time?
Absolutely.
What was she needed at that time?
on the
It's
Nautilus.
amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a great book.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
sorry,
with,
Shiny. I don't think you will remember then. I doubt we'll reread it because there's so many books
yes,
we
of
want to
course.
read, and we weren't streaming when we read that particular book. So, but you can read it on your own, and you can still look at Xanthip's notes on the forum. Her notes are still there, so if you want to read it, it's a fantastic book, especially if you like
Yes, I love it.
scientific.
It's great.
Yeah,
I have it here in German, but I prefer to read it in English, of course.
I think so. Yeah.
But it's a must.
It is.
Yes, it's a classic.
It's a classic, absolutely. Now, Shiny, what do you mean by it looks so complicated? What do you mean? You mean the sextant looks complicated?
Page, and it looks so complicated for me. What it has so many, I don't know how to say, pipe, stick.
Well, it's got so many gears and levers and magnifying glasses and measurements. It's incredible. If you are interested, you can find out how to use one. You can buy them still. I mean, you can still buy them. You can buy them in antique shops quite often. But yes, you need to know how to use one in order to accurately take a reading and know. And this could be the difference between life and death. You get the reading wrong, you could end up sailing until you run out of food and water. It happened, I'm afraid. Many ships were lost at sea. And some of the equipment is quite basic, but some of the ones used in some of the museums, wow, they are so beautiful. They really are. And you can still buy them. If you've got, I don't know, a couple of £100 to spare, you can buy one, a modern one. Just for display purposes, I would think. Do people still use them? I'm not sure. I think some traditionalists kind of use them, but they've probably got the smartphone as a backup.
And I think it's the same. Some preferable men like to drive old cars.
And
I
use
think
a map.
it's the same.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Some people still prefer a map. I know hubby and we use our GPS. We use our TomTom when we're driving around, but we've always got a map in the car because we don't trust the TomTom.
Yes. I mean, a map is so wonderful. It's drawn so nicely and neatly and exactly. Oh, I hope we will never miss them because it's amazing, really.
I hope they don't die out, yes. I mean, I love old maps. We've got a couple of old maps. It's lovely to find an old map of a place that you know, an area that you know. We've got an old map of Shrewsbury, of Shropshire, on our wall, hanging on the wall, because the old maps, they're even nicer than the new maps. That said, I still like my TomTom. Shiny. Antique is anything... Officially, anything over 100 years old is called an antique. Okay. So in the UK, you can find many antique shops selling antiques. And really, to be an antique, so I'm not an antique. I'm not that old, okay? Not yet. But sometimes it's used just to say something's really old. But yeah, officially it has to be over 100 years old to officially be an antique. Okay, that's all right. You're welcome. Yeah, Portobello Road but there are a lot of fake antiques out there. I warn you, be careful. You pay a lot of money. You pay more money for an antique quite often, so people fake them, I'm afraid to say.
Yes. It's easily possible because when I was in Portobello Road, I bought a teapot. And when I came home after a time, I saw it in lots of shops, the same.
Oh no.
Yes.
I hope you didn't spend too much money on it. Yeah, we have
I
antique
mean,
experts in the UK. Antique experts. We really like antiques. There are lots of antique programmes. Bargain Hunt, the Antique Show. What else? Oh, there's something Flog It. It's all about antiques. We just love old stuff. Okay, it might sound a bit odd, but it's big business, and it's a lot of people collect antiques, antique furniture, antique memorabilia, and antique tools, antique equipment, marine equipment like the sextant. If it's a real antique, it's worth a lot more than a modern one. But yeah, I think people still use them in that sort of romanticised idea of how to steer a ship. Okay, now if you notice also in that line, a star to steer her by. Who's she? What's he talking about when he says her? What do you think he might be talking about when he says a star to steer her by?
Her it is used for the ship, I think. A ship.
A ship is a ship is a she.
Yeah, not a lover, Shiny. You shouldn't try to steer people. But the ship, the tall ship he's talking about, he's given it this, you know how normally things are it in English, yeah? Oh, that's a nice ship, it is. But people who love the sea, people who sail, they will always call ships she, not it. It's a bit like pets. We don't call them it, we call them he or she, depending on their gender. Well, a ship always has the female gender. It's always she. So a star to steer her by is the tall ship he's longing for. Okay? We've got a name for this kind of use of the language. Okay? I think I've mentioned it before. It's not the easiest... not the easiest word to remember. Okay, anthropomorphism, to put human qualities onto an object or even an animal. Anthropomorphism. Yes, quite often men will call their cars her or she as well. Yeah. Absolutely, Shiny. And we do it to things that we attach ourselves to as well. We give them a gender. And with ships, the gender is all, in English, the gender is always female. Okay?
Lynn, is it not true that the tank of a car is also called a she? I fill it up. I fill her up.
Yeah, they're talking about the car, though, rather than the tank. Fill her up means the car. Okay, you're filling the tank, but the tank is part of... It's like, you know, your heart. Or your stomach. It's just part of you. So they're still talking about the car. Fill her up means fill the car up. Okay? No, women tend to use she for ships as well. Again, it's that romantic notion. This romanticism of... the sea and anything in the sea and on the sea. Okay, so I've read it. I think now it's your turn. So let me post it up, and I think Traum, you were the first person. Oh no, Shiny, you were the first person to speak to me. So if you'd like to read this first verse. And remember, this is a poem about longing. So try and sound a little wistful, a little longing, okay?
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and I ask it's a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the winds song, and the white sails shaking, and the grey mist on the sea's face, and the grey dawn breaking,
Well done. Very nice. Very wistful. Excellent. And it implies to me that he's the person who's speaking. I'm going to say he, because I think it is a man speaking, is somewhere in the UK because of the greyness. Grey mist, that's the UK. Grey dawn, definitely the UK. Okay, what type of weather do you think he's imagining with this line? The wheels kick, the wind's song, and the white sails shaking. What sort of weather do you think he's thinking of? Windy, yeah. The wind's song. Can you think of a noise that the wind makes? What kind of noise can you describe the wind with? Blowing, yeah, blowing is not so much a noise, it's an effect. So when the wind blows, means when the wind has an effect on something. There was some really strong winds in Germany yesterday. A lot of trees were damaged and blown down. So yeah, the wind blows, but it's not really a noise. Yeah, it is hard to explain. Howling. Yeah, that's a good one. Howling. Not hauling. Sorry, I've just figured out what you were trying to say. Howling. That is a noise the wind makes. A very strong wind. The wind was howling down the chimney. Yeah. Also, whistling.
Whistling.
Yeah, whistling. You can whistle. You know how to whistle, don't you? Put your lips together and blow. But the wind can whistle as it whistles round the house. It's that sound. And the howling is the stronger wind. Yeah. And what do you think he means by the wheels kick? The wheels kick, the wind song. What wheel? I thought we were on a boat. We were in a ship.
Oh yes, they mean the wheel. You can drive the ship to the left or to the right side.
Yeah.
Is it like the car wheel? It's a ship wheel.
Yeah, exactly. So even in cars, we have a steering wheel. And in a car, the steering wheel helps you to drive the car. On a ship, it helps you to steer. That's where this word steering comes from. Okay, so the wheel on the ship is the captain's wheel, the steering wheel on the ship. I mean, nowadays, yeah, they have levers and pulleys, etc. But the wheel on a ship, what they just call the wheel, is the steering mechanism. Okay, and all it does is it alters the angle of the rudder at the back of the ship, and that steers the ship. Okay, so it's the ship's wheel or the wheel of the ship.
What does it mean here? Wheels kick. Kick. What does it mean, kick?
Yeah, kick. Well, if you were to hold one of these ship's wheels in your hands and try to steer, and the sea is trying to steer you one way and you're trying to steer in the opposite way, there's a lot of force. And if a big wave comes, hits the ship, that wheel will kick and you have to hold on tight to keep your course. It's like being kicked by
It's like a jerk.
Yeah, a very strong push. And here he's using the word kick to show that it's very sharp. It's like being kicked and you have to hang on. When you're steering a ship, it's very different to steering a car with power steering. I don't know, have you ever hit the curb when you're steering a car? when you're driving, have you ever hit the curb accidentally? Then the wheel will kick. And it really is. You have to hang on. You have to hang on and keep your course. So I think the weather's quite rough. Yeah, the wheel's kicking, so the sea's very strong. The wind is singing. It's a strong wind, and the sails are flapping and fluttering, shaking. The white sails shaking. So I think he's actually imagining rough weather as if it's a good thing. He likes it. He likes the fight, maybe, the power of the sea. I mean, if I imagine sailing on the sea, I prefer to imagine blue waters, calm water, a slight breeze. Okay, so Traum, would you like to read that verse, please?
Yes, of course. So, I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tail ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking. And a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking.
Very good, but you're going to kick yourself now. A tall ship, not a tail ship.
Okay, I was, okay. Oh my God, a tall ship, of course.
Ship. Yeah, well done.
Did I really say?
You did.
Did I
I'm
really
afraid.
say tail?
Yeah, you can check. You can check in the recording, but you definitely said a tail ship. Oh, it's such a shame. It was beautifully read. Apart from that little bit, that was very good. Well done. Well done. Okay, Vinay, are you ready to read it?
Yes. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking.
Very good. Well done. Okay. So, any questions now that you've all read it?
Yeah, grey mist on the sea's face. I think this phrase I'm not getting.
Okay.
What does it mean?
Okay, do you know what mist is?
No.
Do you know what fog is?
Yeah, I know fog.
Fog, so fog is very grey, yeah? And mist is a light fog. Okay, so here we have in front of you now. In fact, I'm going to surround you. Hang on, Vinay. I'm going to surround you with mist. Okay. Now, probably Traum is giggling because mist in German is a completely different meaning. But if you look around you now, Vinay, you're covered in a grey mist. Now, the sea in the UK, often, wherever there's river or water, because of the weather there and the difference between heat and cold, it will be very misty in the mornings. Okay? Okay, Vinay? Is that clear now? Oh, Vinay's lost his voice. Or he's lost in the mist. Sometimes we talk about the mists of time. Lost in the mists of time. Okay, but in this case, it's just the grey mist that's floating above the water. And again, I don't know why you would want to experience this, but this guy obviously really loves the sea. Let me I'll take the mist out to sea now. But truly, it is like that in the UK. Whilst I was on holiday, every morning was misty. Okay. He's not seasick. No, seasick would mean when you're at sea and you feel sick. This guy's a sailor. Sailors don't feel seasick. Okay, you might feel seasick the first time you ever go sailing, but eventually you get used to the motion and you get land sick because you miss the motion of the sea. But yeah, seasick is that feeling of wanting to vomit, wanting to be sick physically when you're out at sea and the water's moving and your body hasn't got used to that motion. That's seasickness, okay? Now he's more, it's like the sea is his home and he's feeling homesick maybe. Homesick is when you miss home, yeah? Let me just spin that round a bit. So there we have a nice misty morning. So I'm still not sure if Vinay understands what this grey mist is, but the sea looks grey. So it's a grey sea with a grey mist floating over it, this light fog, okay? Okay, so the next verse, see how we're doing for time. We're running out. So, I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. That one's for you, Traum. I know how much you love the sound of seagulls.
Yes, Lynn. I'm not so sure if I liked the sound really of those nice birds.
Especially not during an English session. Okay, any questions about the words here?
Spume, I think spume.
Spume, yeah, it's a great word, and that's a definite C word. You can get spume in a river, but it's more likely on the shore, and it's basically the foam that appears on waves. When you've got rough sea, you have waves, and it's really rough. Those waves at the top, they have a sort of foam. And sometimes in the UK, when you go to the seaside, you'll find the foam just lying along the beaches, this spume. Okay? So the spume of the white-capped waves, there's a nice example. And it's that white at the top of the wave. The sea is very calm here today, but if you've ever watched surf competitions with the big waves, that frothy bit at the top of the wave, that's spume. Bit of a technical word.
Lynn, a flung spray. A spray would be, I think, on a bottle of spray, who is very fine what it gives away. But the word flung is not sure.
Okay, it's
I'm
the
not sure what this
power
meant.
of the spray. So if you throw a ball, okay, you fling it, okay? If you just throw something away, you fling it away, you throw it. And if you've got spray coming in off, imagine you're sitting in the boat, the waves are hitting the side of the boat and the spray is being flung at you, so you're covered in the spray of the water. That's the force of the water. Yeah. So yeah, a little bit like this sort of like spray that you can use to cool your face, but this is by the power of the waves. This isn't something gentle. This is something that's being thrown at you. Okay.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And that using the word flung. He could have just said and the spray, but that just adding that word flung means there's real power there. There's no control. It's just being thrown at him. He can't control it. But maybe that's what he likes. That's what he misses. The feel of not being in
This
control.
is an adjective, flung.
Flung, yes, it's being used as an adjective there. The flung spray, yes. Any other questions?
I always thought that seagulls, the word is written in one, not separated with a...
Well, remember, this poem was written many years ago, and words that have a hyphen, often in the past, they would have been two words, then somebody hyphenates them to join them together, and then suddenly they become one word through use. Okay, so it can be hyphenated or it can be written as one word, yes. Because what we've got is a gull. The gull is the kind of bird that it is, and then the seagull is the specific bird, okay? And the family is, in Latin, Laridae. But gulls are, there's many, many different types of gulls. Then you have seagulls, and then you have the different types of gulls, the little gull, the black-backed gull, let's not even go into terms. If you're interested in birds, the RSPB website is very good. Yeah, exactly. If you just go to any seaside resort on a rough day, you'll see lots of spume and spray. And that's just on a Friday night. No, I'm joking. Okay, so no more questions then. This time, Traum, if you'd like to read it first.
Okay. I must go down to the seas again, for the call for the running tide. It is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying.
Very good. Now, sometimes you might think a seagull squawks as well, but they cry. The cry of the gulls. Very good. Any questions? Okay, Vinay.
Lynn?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was talking. Very good. Any questions having read that?
As for me, the text is clear, but I wasn't sure about the word spume. Spume? How is it pronounced?
Spume.
Spume. Okay,
yes. Yeah.
Then I was right.
Yeah, good. It's a U sound. Spume. It's a very it is the sort of word that a poet would use rather than something you would say on a walk along the seafront. You wouldn't go, oh, look at all that spume. Then you'd just say, oh, look at all that foam. Oh, there's a lot of foam on the sea today. Or the sea's rough today, is normal. But spume is a sort of poetic word. Okay. Vinay, would you like to have a go? Oh, Vinay, are you with us? No, Vinay's gone to make a cup of tea. So, Shiny, your turn. Would you like to read that verse? No? Oh, can anybody hear me? Vinay, can you hear me? Ah, there you are. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good. I couldn't
okay.
hear you for a while. Okay, Vinay, would you like to read that verse?
Okay. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying.
Very good. Well done. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, Tram?
Lynn, is it a everyday expression, the running tide? I mean, I know what a tide is, and the running is obviously it's more water coming in. And what's in running tide? Is it a everyday use?
Yeah, it is actually.
or
I
not?
mean, basically, the tide is the water coming in and going out, remember. It's the movement of the water. The movement caused by gravity and the moon, etc. But the tide comes in and then you have high tide, then it goes out, then you have low tide. So it's both directions is the movement. The running tide means it's neither at high tide or low tide. It's either moving in or moving away. So it's moving, okay? So you have the outrunning tide, that means the tide is going out, and the incoming tide, that means the tide is coming in. So the running tide means it's in flux, it's moving in or going out, one or the other. It's not in that position of high tide when it stays high, low tide when it stays low. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Shiny's got a question about Kitely here. Why did it show you as away? Because it means you didn't move for a while, you didn't speak for a while or type for a while. It would just automatically assume you're off making a cup of tea, Shiny. Okay, so Shiny, would you like to read that verse?
The seas again for the cold of the running tide. It's a wild cold and a clear cold that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flying spray, and the brown spume, and the seagulls crying.
Very good. Just 2 words. Try call. It's like or. Call.
Cool.
Better. And then the other one is blown. It's an O sound, not like brown. Brown is an ow. Oh, blown. Try it.
Blown.
Better. Yeah. O, blown, ow, brown. How now, brown cow. But blown is oh no, it's blown away. Okay, very good. Any questions? Everybody happy? Okay, let's do the last verse and then we'll finish for today. Oh, cold, call. So cold is like an O sound and call is more or. Okay, so cold. Oh, hang on. Cold has an O sound. Call has an or sound. And remember to cold call someone. Cold call. To phone people. To phone someone without permission in order to sell them things. Okay. Yeah, same pose, pause, tall, told, you know, that o and or sound. Okay. To cold call. Try saying that, Shiny. Cold call.
Cold call.
That's it, yeah. Because sometimes when you put the 2 words together, you can feel the difference more than when they're on their own. Okay? I hate cold calling. I hate it. I never answer cold callers, and if they do get through, I just hang up on them. I say, sorry, not interested, but they're gone. Okay, so the last verse. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy's life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and a quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. Okay, Any questions?
Is Lynn wetted? Is wetted and wetted? Isn't it an old expression?
No, you wet a knife when you sharpen it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When
I've got a
it's sharp.
whetstone. I have a whetstone.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, so to wet.
Each
I mean,
household
people
should.
tend to say to sharpen, but a professional sharpener wouldn't say. Oh, he says, "I'll wet your knife." You can wet your whistle as well. And a lot of people. Now, is wet your whistle with a WH? Ooh, let's just check. Wet your appetite is better. Yeah, you wet your appetite by looking at pictures of food.
What does it mean? Do the Gauls way and the whales way? The way they live,
Yes.
the way they
And
behave.
the way they travel, okay, the way they when you're talking about a way, yeah, which way? The seagull's way, the way they travel towards into the, okay, nowadays you'll find them on rubbish dumps, but the seagull's way and the whale's way, the way they go. They stay in the sea. They very rarely, especially whales. Let's choose whales as a metaphor, because seagulls nowadays, well, you'll find them all over the UK, even in Nottingham, which is strange but true. The whale's way, the whales, they travel using the oceans as their motorways, if you like. Okay.
Okay, I see. A fellow rover.
Okay, a rover is somebody who travels. Okay, so a fellow rover, a fellow traveller. A sea rover, somebody who travels by sea, yeah?
Not a staff, Lynn. Is it a customer, so to speak? A rover?
No, a person who spends their time travelling is a rover.
Uh-huh, okay. But he or she hasn't to do anything on a ship. There is no work for them.
Not necessarily, unless you're a sea rover, in which case you're somebody who spends your time travelling by sea. It could mean that they're working, it could mean that they're not working. It just means they travel, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
So I think Zom would like to be a rover. And a sea rover is someone who just travels a lot by sea. Okay, so a fellow rover, he's basically saying somebody like me who longs to be at sea all the time. Okay.
No matter if they are a customer or a sailor or so.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
When you say customer, we don't have customers on ships. You mean a passenger?
Passenger, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I've got you now. I was like, sorry. Customer.
Sounds better.
A passenger.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the meaning of the long trick's over, when the long trick is over?
A quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. What do you think he's talking about now? A quiet sleep and a sweet dream. Any ideas, Shiny? What might he be talking about? Right at the end. Think about the end of the poem. He's saying, when the long trick's over, I just want a quiet sleep and a sweet dream. So he wants an adventurous life. He wants the life of a sea rover. He wants to be, and he doesn't want an easy life. He wants the wild sea. He wants the strong winds. But at the end, he wants a quiet sleep and a sweet dream. What do you think it might be a metaphor for? Or the end of his life, maybe. In some ways, this poem is about life. He wants a life at sea, but at the end, he thinks of his life as a sea voyage, and at the end of his life, he wants a quiet, easy, kind death, if you like. Okay, it's a metaphor. To me, it's a metaphor for death at the end. Okay.
Okay.
So the long trick is his life. The long trick. It's a funny way to talk about life, but maybe we are all living a strange life that's a bit of a trick. Some kind of deception, maybe. Okay. In sailing terms, in sailing parlance, when a sailor's out at sea, okay, and they have to steer the ship for a while, that can also be called a trick, okay? But that's a sailor's term. Now, of course, we're talking about a sailor, so he's talking about steering his own ship, leading his life the way he wants to, and when that's over, a quiet sleep and a sweet dream. Maybe he means it literally, he just wants to go to his bunk and sleep and start it all over again tomorrow, but I like to think it's the end of his life. He wants a nice quiet death. Here you are. Here we go. Hang on. Sea terms. Sea terminology. Trick. Okay. Nautical dictionary. Always worth finding that kind of thing.
I think this man had problems with his wife because of those boats.
Maybe. Well, you know, people do run off to sea, they say. Yeah? He ran off to sea as a lad and he never came back. So maybe that's what men do when they go to sea. They're just running away from the women. And there you have it from the Sea Talk. There you go. From Sea Talk. Okay, a trick is a full watch at the helm. And then... so when his trick's over, when his watch is over. But again, when you're talking about somebody's watch, sometimes we're talking about their life. It's a poem, remember, so you can read into it different meanings depending on what it says to you. And to me, it's like that's the end because it's at the end of the poem as well. I think so. Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. He just wants to be a rover. He wants to live his life out at sea, going to different places, never staying too long, and then going to see a new place, and then in the end just having a peaceful death. Okay, so your turn. Yes, there are no more questions.
Shiny, it's your turn.
I think so, yeah.
It's
so
your
Shiny, turn. Your turn to go first.
Yes, give it a go, please.
I must go down to the seas again, and the vagrant deep sea life to the seagull, to the gold's way and the whale's way, where the wings like a weighty knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trip's over.
Very good. Well done. Just the one word there, laughing. Laughing, yes. To laugh.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now, some people say laughing, but not loving, which is how you kind of said it. So I say to laugh. Some people say to laugh. It's like the glass thing. But laughing or laughing, not laughing. Okay? Any questions? No? Okay, then Traum?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
I must I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep, and a sweet dream when the long grick's over.
Very good. Just the one word, yarn, not yawn. Yawn is when, let me just see if I've got a yawn. I'm not sure if I've got a yawn. I haven't got a yawn. But when you yawn when you're tired, like, I'm so sleepy, that's a yawn. A yarn is a story or a tale. Okay. So yarn. Try it. Oh, Traum.
Oh God, I was muted.
It's all right, I've been doing it all the time. Go on.
Yarn, not a yawn.
Not a yawn, yeah. And you can tell it's a merry yarn because you don't really have a merry yawn. You can have a tired yawn or a long yawn, but a merry yarn, a fun tale, a fun story. Yarn in that context. Yarn can also mean thread, but in this context, with that word merry, you realize, and talking about the sea and sailors, they love telling stories. So a merry yarn, a fun story. Okay? Any questions?
Is it to be on a ship like a gypsy life?
Yeah, because it's travelling. Okay, gypsies travel, and so gypsy life of travelling is what he's hoping for. You'll often find the word gypsy in the names of boats and ships. Okay, and sea gypsies are basically an ethnic name of a group of people who travel on the sea. Okay.
Okay. I have a gypsy in another way in my head. I thought a gypsy is someone in the book of Alchemist. There was also a gypsy, and I thought they walking from place to place, and they say to the people what the future would bring them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The gypsies. Travellers, gypsies. But what he's doing is he's using that metaphor again. Gypsy life, the wandering life, not settling down with his wife, who he's running away from in your head. Okay. Anyhow, I'll put in the forum, there's a YouTube recording of John Masefield actually reading the poem himself. So I'll put that in the forum for you and you can listen to him. And but thank you ever so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Slightly different session, I know, but I hope you enjoyed it. Good. Shiny, was it okay for you? I think next week what we'll do is a song. We'll do a song, maybe from English radio. You're welcome. Thank you, Tram. Don't forget to stand up before you switch off, and just to make sure your avatar doesn't get messed about. Yep. Okay, good. You're welcome. It was fun. Thanks a lot for coming. Take care. Bye. Okay, and it's very romantic. It's called Sea Fever. Now, what would you take of that without knowing the poem? Oh,
Sea fever, I would take it positively. Maybe he is inside, maybe in London, where I know no sea is around, then he will get fever because of the absence of water.
Yeah, both of you were correct, actually. So, Shiny, not some who loves the sea, someone, yeah, someone who loves the sea. So much it's a passion. Yeah, it's a fever. Not so much the absence of the sea, but just the longing for the sea. Yeah, his longing for the sea. And you can have sea fever even if you're at sea. It's just the idea of not being at sea. And some people really are passionate about the sea, about sailing, about living by the sea. People in the UK, they gravitate towards the seaside a lot. People pay a premium to live by the sea, and people who live by the sea, yeah, some people don't really do much above look at it, but many people have a boat or will go sailing and will spend a lot of time, what we say, on the water. Yeah, they long to be out on the water. Traum, what do you mean by brides?
No, I thought when someone is on sea, a sailor or so, and a bride was old at that time when she sang it, but it sounds pretty old. I heard it once, and but the rhythm or the sound of the song is really nice and so entertaining.
And can you remember any? Oh, can you remember any of the lines in the song?
It's at the seaside. No, I can't at the moment.
Okay,
I would have to prepare.
Okay.
Myself.
Next week.
Yes, maybe.
Okay. I mean, we did sing a song. I can't remember who was at the session, but we did sing a song together. I do like to be beside the seaside. That's what we call a seaside song. There are also sea shanties. Have you heard of the term sea shanty?
It's
No, Shiny. It's okay. Don't be sad about it. That's why you're here. Sea shanties are the sort. Yeah, Traum.
I'm not sure. Is shanty a repetition of a block, a verse or so?
Not really. I think I know what you mean there, but no, a sea shanty is the sort of song that sailors would sing. Okay, and it would be it has a chorus and then a solo, and they developed these songs for doing things like hauling in the sails or raising the anchor. Okay, so this is the Learn English Network Tuesday drama. And if you notice on the calendar, it says English drama, stories, poetry and song. And we've done a lot of drama recently, so we're going to do some stories and poetry and song for the next few weeks. And today it's going to be poetry, but sort of related to what we've been talking about before. As you can see, we're at the beach, at the seaside, and the sea has often been the subject of prose and poetry, especially in British literature, because of course we're an island, we're surrounded by the stuff. So before I introduce the poem I'm going to get us to talk about today, do you know of any stories or poems or songs that are related to the sea, either of you? We'll see if Vinay can come back. He's got voice issues, I'm afraid. But Traum, do you know of any stories or songs or poems to do with the sea in English or in your own language?
No, we aren't surrounded by any sea.
No, you're actually the opposite, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you know what we call
I know
that?
Yes, you told me it several times. I do. It's
Landlocked.
and landlocked. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, landlocked. Landlocked. Yes, of course. Actually, I know one song, but I don't know the whole lyric. It's a very old song. It's at the seaside, and an old lady, or no, I'm not sure if she is waiting for him.
Ah, yes. A bride is actually somebody who's going to be married.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my fault when I wrote brides, because often they waiting and got the permission that they will marry,
Uh-huh.
but it's often maybe different because he found another woman
Yeah.
on another country.
There is a saying in English as well, one in every port, yeah? And it's basically to have a woman in every port, okay? A girl in every port. Be it a bride or a wife or just a lover, a girl in every port. Seemingly sailors are quite notorious for that. Okay, so this actual poem, as I say, it's studied in English literature in the UK at school, and the imagery. Now, when I talk about the imagery, it's the picture that the words paint when you actually listen to or read the poem. Okay. Oh, Vinay's trying to join us. Hi. Okay, he wants to teleport. Let's hope he's got his... Let's hope he's got the voice working. Okay, so when you talk about imagery, it's the picture it paints in your mind. Hi, Vinay. Have you got your voice working? Oh, no. No white dot. Still no white dot. I think if Son was here, she'd know one, and Aladdin as well, because we did a session on pirates quite a while ago, many years ago. And one of the songs is "What Should We Do with the Drunken Sailor?" and "Yo Ho Ho" and "A Bottle of Rum." They're the sort of thing that people would sing at sea, and they're called sea shanties. If you go onto YouTube, you'll find, if you just enter sea shanties into YouTube, you'll find lots and lots of people, choirs, singing these songs. Shiny, do you know of any poetry about the sea? Is it normal in your culture to have songs and stories and poems about the sea? Take the mic.
I think I have read about some point about sea, but when I was a student, but I can't remember. But the only song I can remember is Yellow Submarine.
Ah, yeah.
It's very the only song that I...
Yeah, no, we all live in the Yellow Submarine, the Yellow Submarine, the Yellow Submarine. Fantastic. Indeed. Yeah, you're quite right. Oh, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I had somebody ring at the doorbell, but I won't answer. They can come back. Okay, it's just a delivery. Nothing important. Okay, so today's poem is by a poet called John Masefield.